Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the High Ticket Coaching and Consultant Strategy and Growth Show. Now, if you're watching this show anywhere else but within our private community called High Ticket Client Attraction Insider Circle, our private Facebook group, then be sure to come join us. We just surpassed 6,000 members in there, and they're all motivated coaches, consultants, service providers. So again, if you want to be a part of an awesome community, we'd love to have you. Now, with that being said, today's guest, Raina Rose. Welcome, Raina.
Thank you, Extus. It's just a joy to be here. Thanks for having me.
You are so welcome. So, Raina, tell us, what type of business do you run?
So I have a very multifaceted business. I do coaching for people, as well as I'm called the Soul Nutritionist, and I have a show on Roku TV called Soul Nutrition. So I do that, as well as we were talking about, I ran a huge conference for speakers to come on an online platform and speak to people. And I also write books. I'm also an author. So a lot of things, but my main business end of that is probably the coaching.
Yeah, okay, probably the coaching. Okay, and you said you call your business Soul Nutrition?
Well, it's under the umbrella of an LLC called Crown Creativity, but yes, the Soul Nutritionist is what has stuck with viewers. So, and that's mostly, no matter what I do, whether it's helping somebody organize their finances so that they can get in a place where they can get to self-actualization, because it's really hard on that Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? If you don't have the safety and security, getting to self-actualization is really hard. So even when I'm helping someone organize their life or organize finances or something, it's always to get to that spiritual, soul nourishing part. So the Soul Nutritionist, though it takes a little explaining, makes the most sense.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's the best thing with every good name. When you talk about it, someone has to be like, what does that mean? And then you could go into kind of story, because at the end, right, the story is the best part, right?
Absolutely. It's the story and the journey that make everything exciting, right?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Awesome. So with the Soul Nutritionist, being a Soul Nutritionist, how long have you been going by that name?
I've been going by that name for about a year. So actually, we didn't get into this in the beginning, but so kind of how I got into this whole deal is I started my first fitness business when I was 19. And I was teaching people, enjoying it. I started with like Gold's Gym, where we just get ripped and, all we care about is the outside body, to going into Pilates and yoga and always having spiritual teachers along the way. And then I went and I lived the life of my vision board, right? I had private jets and yachts and all this stuff on my vision board. And I got to live that and also save a whole lot of money while I did it, and write a book while I was doing it. And so I spent time while I was actually working on a private jet. And so I had this amazing client who was a billionaire, who I just got to study this billionaire the whole time, right? The entire time I would just watch what he read, what he did, what he eats, how he interacts with his family. And in the meantime, I wrote my book, and I saved a lot of money, and I saved up enough to where I had several years of income. And then I could figure out what I wanted to do from there. And so I started my show. I started coaching people so that they could live the life of their vision board. And, it's just gone from there, where I coached one person, they told another person, and then I said, oh, I guess I'm a coach now.
Yeah. Now, you talked about your book. What's the name of your book?
So my book, I've got one book out already where it's just an anthology. It's called Natural and Organic Healing. So I participated in this one mostly because is a lot of wellness professionals. It's been a great community to be a part of, and it became a bestseller. So now I have international bestselling author for my next book. But the next book is the one that I've been working on for several years. And the title of that is a little bit racy. It's called Sin Tastes Good. And again, just like the Soul Nutritionist, the subtitle explains it. And the subtitle is Nourishing the Soul in an Empty Calorie World. And so that's often what I really work with my clients is, sometimes we want to go for the cheesecake of life, right? We want to go for the empty calories that's going to taste really good now, but it sits on the hips for another long time, right? Yeah. Or it gives you a belly ache and you feel really gross afterward. But we all know the things that nourish our bodies And we often know the things that nourish our souls as well. And so that's different for every person. A lot of that is listening to what that person's values are, what that person's dreams are, and putting it together and asking them the proper questions, because they have it all inside. There's nothing new that I'm going to tell them. It's just bringing it out of them. And then they are able to ask themselves the right questions, take the right actions so that they can live the life of their vision boards.
Right. Love it. Love it. And what's the name of say the name of the book again?
Sin Tastes Good.
Oh man, you must be a marketer. Are you, do
No,
you have
I
a
was
pretty strong marketing background?
actually, I was vice president of marketing for an aviation firm for a short amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of spurred me into a lot of things. But I've had the marketing mind since I was a kid. I mean, my teachers in school would tell me I should go into marketing. And I've always loved researching why people do what they do. Why do they buy what they buy and make the decisions that they make? And part of kind of that coaching and the book and the show, even all these things I do in my speaking, is to help people recognize in themselves, why do I
Mm-hmm.
do what I do? And do I want to do that? And if not, what else can I do? How can I
Yeah.
change it? Because,
Yeah.
so much of our society, we live lives that the commercials and the marketers tell us to live, right? We go, oh, the movie had this really great one night stand. That sounds like a great idea. I want to get married and have kids and have a house, but one night stands and getting in a lot of debt is what the marketers tell me to do. But
Mm-hmm.
that's probably not going to lead to, if someone wants a life of a home and kids and, financial freedom, we have to realize, what am I being trained by society to want and think that I want? And what do I really want? And what are the steps to get there? And
Mm-hmm.
so that's more the book. And with the book, it's a very general, like, take a look at how you're living. Are those ideas even yours? And do you want them to be yours? If not, take a look at what you could have, what you would like, and what steps it takes to get there. Where the coaching gets a lot deeper, and I have a lot of more like very high level clients who've kind of gotten past some of that, but it might be more, I'm so deep in my business right now that I haven't paid attention to my family, or I'm letting my health go. And so how can I make my business stay successful? Because that's been my goal, that's my priority. But these other areas, I want them in balance also. And so
Mm-hmm.
like you talk about high ticket client sales, with like high ticket clients, that includes like trips to the monastery with me, because I've been going to monasteries for most of my life, where I go and I sit with the monks and we sit in silence for days at a time. And,
Oh, you do that. You're
including that
oh
experience.
goodness. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
How
I
long,
love it.
yeah, how long are you, is it like how long do you have to sit in silence for? What's the longest you've done?
I would love I could stay for months, to be honest, but the longest I've been able to do is like a week.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I would stay for months. It's once you're there, I mean, really, Extus. One of my favorite experiences that I tell about is I was sitting in, they call it your cell at the monastery,
What do they
which
call
is your room,
your
and
cell? You said they call it your
a
cell?
cell, like a jail cell. Yeah. Um, and so I was outside on the patio, and my favorite one is in Big Sur. It's called the New Camaldoli Hermitage. And you're out, and you can see just completely the Pacific Ocean is right in front of you, and there's trees and the reeds of grass, and you've been in silence for a few days now. And your brain has quieted down, that monkey mind, right? That's like, what am I going to do next? I need to,
Right.
And so you begin to train that mind to stop its spin, because so many of us get in the spin, and that's why people can't sleep. That's why we make bad decisions and quick. And so that's quieted down in about day 3, maybe 4. And you can hear the blades of grass going against each other like a symphony around you, and all of nature, between birds chirping and blades of grass and the ocean in the background, becomes this beautiful symphony and orchestra, like you are just being you're the royalty that nature is playing a great concert for. And this sense of gratitude that you leave after even 3 days, 3, 4, 5 days at the monastery, you leave with this sense of gratitude and stillness. And when you make a decision after that, it's not from this, what's going to be most profitable? You just know, like, this is the right decision from my choices, not what society tells me, not what I think, but from my soul, because I've nourished it in these last days.
Yeah.
I know what's right.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I love to lead clients kind of on that journey, and I'll be in silence with them, and I'll take them, for a walk in the beginning and talk, a little bit of silent exercise in the middle, and then a walk at the end where we talk, but the whole rest is silent.
How did you get into that? How did you, how did that come about?
Well, so I have had the most amazing spiritual teachers since I was a kid, really. My spiritual teacher who christened me as a baby is still my greatest mentor. And he has gone to these monasteries for years now as well, and talked with the monks. What really got me into it is he had this one, so you can talk to the monks while you're there. So you can break the silence with an hour with a monk, right? And he would have this conversation with one of the monks who's since passed every day that he was there. And he recorded about 10 of them or 12. And he put them on, I think it was videos for us at the time. And so you buy the videos and we all watch them together. It's like a spiritual community that meditates and things. And so we watch these videos, and the monk would just talk about life and the real things of society in a way that made so much sense, and it wasn't religious, and it wasn't oppressive the way he spoke about it. It was so life-giving. Everything was about living a very abundant life. And I just thought, I want to go there. I want to experience that. And so one day I made a reservation, got in my little convertible, drove up the coast, and I spent some time at the monastery. And ever since, I've just been going back. I visit other monasteries from time to time, but that one's still my favorite.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I've never been, but the way you tell the story here makes me want to, as soon as this interview is done, I'm buying a plane ticket, packing my bags, and I'm gone.
It's an experience, and it's something that our souls crave. There's not really a word, but peace would be the best. Our souls crave that exhale. And the most beautiful thing I love about going to this monastery is the phone service goes off about an hour before you get there. And so
it actually goes off.
Yep. So you can't Google anything for 3 to 5 days, however length you're there. You aren't getting phone calls or emails or anything. All you're doing is sitting in silence. And the first time you go, it actually could be uncomfortable, to be honest, because you're sitting with all the things that you've shoved down for years, decades, who knows, right? Because when we're very busy, sometimes it's actually not even appropriate to deal with those things in that moment, right? Like if you're in the middle of a business conference and something emotional pops up, you have to shove it down, right? I mean, you can't be like, hold on, everybody. You just have to, to put that down for a second and deal with it later. But for some people, the later never comes, and it just never gets dealt with. And so that's where coaching's important, having a mentor, having people that you kind of unpack and you heal some of those issues that come up. And then the monastery, kind of like COVID-19 has been for a lot of people, actually having to sit at home and not have all those things that keep us busy all the time. It's brought up a lot of emotional things that people haven't dealt with for a long time. And so if you make it a habit to go to a monastery every 6 months and bring that to your creator, however you see creator, and be in silence and allow it to come up and cry over it. One of the first times I went, actually, it was after my brother had passed away. He died in a motorcycle accident very suddenly. And he was my best friend, like my best friend in the whole world. We grew up in the jungle of Borneo together. And I would joke that we were each other's best friends because most of the time we were each other's only friends, right? And So my dad was a pilot for the Sultan of Brunei. So we lived there. We went to school with the royalty of Brunei. It was a great experience. But my brother was my best friend. And, he died suddenly in this accident. And when he died, something rose up in me that said, oh, I feel so bad about being a little brat to him when I was, 8, 9 years old. And of course I went, that's illogical. That doesn't make any sense. We were kids. We've been best friends our whole lives. So I shoved it down, right? And then when I went to the monastery, that came back up, and I was able to prayer journal about it and cry for just treating him like a brat when I was 8 years old. That wasn't nice. But even though it was illogical, it still had to be dealt with. It still had to be felt completely. And so that really happens for people when they take the time to go in and heal those things.
Yeah.
And then it actually opens up so many other areas of your life. I mean, it opens up areas in business, in relationships, because that part of you that you're kind of holding and covering is released, and you're more open to the opportunities, to the relationships, to everything that comes in because of it.
Yeah, that's powerful stuff as well too, because I definitely notice, especially being an entrepreneur in today's day and age with technology, to where you're always connected. And that's something I noticed within myself as well too, to the point where you start seeking for answers online, through the internet, through this person, through that person, and you really start taking an outward approach to when you feel a certain way, when you have a certain problem, instead of sitting in quiet and saying, okay, let me go experience this. We more take the frame of, okay, let me go figure out who else has done it. Let me go try to figure out how they've done it. And I find that approach is one of those that kind of really could stress you out, versus what you just shared here, which is if you go to a place where, as you said, there's no cell service, which is kind of a little bit terrifying for most people, right? You mean I can't use my phone? No internet? But I believe that what you just shared, that's a pretty powerful thing as well too, right? Awesome.
Right. And, you have to give yourself some grace, because most of us haven't been in an intentional silence since we were put in timeout as children, right? And so we, even on top of not having the habit, we have kind of a negative association that if I'm not able to do stuff and entertain myself, I must be in trouble. And so we have to kind of get rid of that bad association and think, wow, when I'm not connected to all my devices and people can't get a hold of me every second, this is relaxation.
Yeah, awesome. So tell us, so you said one thing, you said you hosted a conference, what did you say, 12 hours for 5 days or something?
I did. So when it came down from, I was actually at the monastery when everybody went in lockdown. And so I was up there, enjoying time with Father Isaiah and in silence, and just, again, my soul exhaling. I was so happy. And we drive down to where the cell coverage comes in, and I start seeing, we're in lockdown, where are you? News alerts, everybody's panicking, right? So I was like, oh, okay. I knew things were starting to get bad, but it was a panic from everyone. And so as I continued to drive, because it's a little bit of a drive still, I thought I had a meeting set up with the person I wrote this book with, actually, the publisher. And we were planning on doing a conference for all the community of this book to come together on a virtual conference, because there's people from all over the world. And we were going to do it in September. So we called each other up and said, hey, all the speakers out there have had their events canceled until further notice. And there's people out there who are living in fear instead of faith, and they need the message these people have to give. So how can we connect these two people and then raise money for charity at the same time? And so what we did is we recruited, I think we got up to 108 speakers at one point. We fleshed a lot of them out, and so we got down to 85. And so we brought in 85 speakers who did 130 topics, because some of them did multiple topics. And then we brought in guests, and it was great because the speakers actually went to a lot of the other speakers, and there's connections and collaborations that ended up going beyond the event. And so for 12 hours a day, Wednesday through Sunday, we had multiple courses going on at one time. And so you could choose which breakout course you wanted to go to. Just like if you were at a conference, you could go to a breakout room. We had the same thing going on 12 hours a day, 5 days. And it was really incredible. And then we raised money for childhelp.org,
Hmm.
which is the oldest and largest child abuse nonprofit organization in the nation. It was started by two actresses. Nancy Reagan asked them to start it 60 years ago. And 5 children die every single day because of child abuse. And so we're really raising awareness and raising money to help, because their live events have all been canceled and they were down $1.5 million. And so our event didn't raise $1.5 million. However, some of the people who were speakers at the event and guests at the event, they have taken on Wyland, the famous painter from Hawaii and California. He did a painting to raise money to auction for them. And another gentleman who was a speaker, he's doing a fundraising campaign for them. And so it was great because our event, though it was great and amazing, it was just the seed for starting some amazing projects in the world.
Hmm. That is so powerful as well. So, and that's the one thing I love about just networking, collaboration, meeting new people, because once you're able to bring individuals into a group, a community, something, like there's so much magic that comes out of it, right?
Absolutely. It went so far beyond. It was amazing because honestly, neither of us, the publisher of this book, his name's Lucas Roback, Lucas and I had never done something of this scale before. And we just kind of were like magic of thinking big style, we're going to do it. Like, and so, some people were like, you can't do that. You've never done it. How are you going to do this? And I said, it's not going to be perfect, but we're just going to move forward.
Hmm.
And so we just continued moving forward, and it ended up being just a fabulous event that we couldn't have hoped for, the kind of connections that have come out of this event.
Yeah, perfect. That's what happened. So someone just jumped into our Zoom room
I
here.
saw that.
That's what happens when you don't lock the door behind you, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's
No,
okay. They noticed pretty quick. Or did you kick them out?
no, they actually jumped out. They just jumped off. I just now locked the door, so we're good now. Yes,
Hey, that's okay.
no,
I'm all about collaboration and bringing people together. I think that we don't need to be competitive. That
mhm,
I believe in a very abundant world. Of course, there's like the friendly competition of that we're trying to, you know, let's go higher and bigger and do more. I love that. But at the same time, we go higher and bigger and do more when we collaborate with other people. So, if that lady wants to come in and collaborate, that'd be
yes.
great too.
Just have everyone in there, right? That's good. That's good. So tell us, let's, I love, in terms of a story wise, one of the questions I love asking as well too, what's a story? Do you have any like stories that just based on today, because I want it to be unique, right? Just based on me asking this question, do you have any stories that just come up for you right now in terms of what you believe caused you to have the level of success that you've created for yourself? What's a story that kind of happened that you said you believe that kind of got you here? Do you have any of those?
Yeah. So it's kind of maybe a two-part story. So I truly believe I've seen my prayers, and again, people can pray however works for them, but I've seen the power of prayer and intention, right, work my entire life, such miracles. And the one that I had posted, I had made a vision board because I watched The Secret and I saw that people made vision boards, and I'm like, oh, I gotta have one of these, right? So I made this vision board, and I just said, if this stuff really works, I'm going big. I put a G650 on there, like private jet. I put yachts. I put Paris. I had never been to Europe yet. I just put everything that I'd ever wanted on there because I'm like, if it works, I'm going for the full dream, right? And so, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, if this works, it'll be 30 years, maybe. I'm in my 20s when I made this, so I'm like, who knows how long it'll take, but I'm gonna believe for it. And so things go along. I continue to think about it. I continue to talk about it. People just think I'm crazy, right? Like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that, and which maybe isn't always the best idea. But I believe in just believing for it, talking about it, and looking at that board and envisioning your life. And so, just 5 years after making that vision board, I think I had just barely turned 30, or maybe not yet. I end up through a series of events. Like I had a broken engagement in South America. I was living there and engaged, and I came back up to the States, thought my whole life was over. And I had, of course, just learned Spanish from living down there. And I didn't know any before I went. And I remember just like crying in the bathtub that my whole life was over, right? Because then we have to have this kind of bottom experience sometimes before we bounce. And I was going to like the Spanish church and the English church and watching it online and just trying to fill myself with some hope, right? And I got this, and I had been doing the vice president of marketing job. We talked about marketing. When I was in South America, I had done the marketing for someone in Houston, Texas. And he was the VP of that region. So I did everything he needed for that. And he called me up. He didn't know that I had moved back from South America, none of that. And he said, you know, I'm looking, the company wasn't the best company, I'll be honest. He goes, I'm looking to leave the company. And I want to start my own business. I said, oh, that's great. You know, maybe you should take this client, because the client of his brought in like $2 million of business every year. And he had like 10 friends who flew as much as he did in corporate aviation. I said, why don't you bring that client in as part of your business so that he'll never leave you, nor will his 10 friends, because he owns 5% or whatever, you know, because he's just a portion of the business.
Right.
So that's a great idea. Will you come ask him? I said, okay, you know, and he said, will you be a partner in the company? I said, sure. And so I had like moved down to South America, spent the rest of my money, you know, living down there. And I was just so broke, it wasn't even funny. And I think everybody should be broke at least once in life. It's good for the character. And it makes you appreciate the abundance so much more. It really does. And so I was so broke that I did this couchsurfing.com. I bought a one-way ticket to Houston, never been to Houston. And I couch surfed at someone's house I had never met. Don't recommend. I was like, no, that is only for serial killers and murders. Like I would not do that. And I did. And yeah. And so I had been told that if I wanted to work on a private jet, it was going to take me 10 years of experience and so many thousands of dollars, which of course I was super broke, right? And so I said, I'll pray about it. And so I prayed about it, and I followed, you know, okay, maybe I'm going to start a business with this guy. So I go out there, I couch surf, I take a Greyhound bus up to Austin because I know I can stay with a friend for a couple of weeks. I get 2 job offers. I take the one, it's answering phones in English and Spanish. And remember, I had gone from VP of marketing and now I'm a receptionist answering phones, right? But this is what we do. Like we have to be humble and take what's given. And oftentimes when we're faithful with that little bit, we get much, much more. And so I take that job. The guy ends up dragging his feet on the business. We don't end up starting a business together. However, I'm doing that job. I start playing, and then I'm so bored, I start doing marketing for them just because I'm like, I need more to do than his phones. And so I'm doing marketing for them. I start playing music with the guy who I'm helping do the marketing, like one of the director of operations. And so we play music.
A musician as well?
Yeah, so he played guitar. I play a little guitar, but I prefer to sing. And so we would go out in the hangar. It was the best thing ever. Private jets, guitars, and microphones in the middle of a private jet hangar. I mean, it was so fabulous, right?
Nice.
I mean, already living my best life. And that was the thing too. I chose to live my best life even as the receptionist, right? And things worked out for me just where the girl I couch surf with gave me a place to live for a month and helped me find the place that I could only find through her neighborhood site. And then that girl gave me $100 off the rent because she just thought I was cool. Another friend that I had met when I lived another place, she has a car company. She let me a convertible, a Z3 convertible for a year as I got on my feet, right? And so just all these things like came into place as I just walked in faith and said, I'm going to do this. And 4 months later, after I was told, just probably 6 months prior, that I would need 10 years of experience and several $1,000s, the flight attendant for that particular private jet, and at the time it was like the best private jet you could get. It had the highest quality crew, and the passenger just went and stayed at places for like 6 weeks at a time, where you would sit in Monaco for 6 weeks doing nothing and getting paid extra, right? So the flight attendant comes in. She's like rude to the front desk people, rude to everybody. They ask me to take her out to the to meet the pilots. And then she's rude. She gets there and she goes, "Hi, I'm so kind." You know? And immediately, the next time I played music with the director of operations who hired her, I said,
Mhm.
"When she gets fired, I want her job."
Yeah.
Those who ask shall receive. 6 weeks later, the pilot said, "If you don't get rid of that girl, we're walking." And they were like specially picked from the Air Force, And
Yeah.
so they get rid of her. He calls me up and he says, "Can you be in London on Saturday?" And I said, "Yep." And so I didn't have the 10 years experience. I didn't have the thousands of dollars of certifications. They paid the certifications. But while I was doing the receptionist work, I also, every time a flight attendant came in that was, these fabulous private jets,
Mhm.
I asked her, "What would be your top 3 tips? I want to be a flight attendant. What
Mhm.
what would be your recommendation for someone? What are the things that you learned?" And so all that 10 years of experience, I gleaned answering the phones at the front desk, right?
Mhm.
And in 4 months.
Yeah.
So this is the kind of stuff that, that led me to work on that jet, save several years of income. There was bonuses and there was different ways that I saved a lot of income and brought in income. And I knew that I wouldn't do it forever, though. It was a grand adventure. I got to sing at the church in Monaco. I got to, travel everywhere that I'd ever wanted to go. I got to bring my parents along with me and friends along with me and go to the Monaco Yacht Show, all of these amazing things. The Formula One in Barcelona, I got to go to. It was just fabulous. But I knew it wasn't forever. And so I saved up that money. And what really changed my course was I was writing my book. I was doing everything I was supposed to be doing.
Mhm.
But there was one particular colleague I was working with on this aircraft, and who was just constantly putting me down, constantly abusive, constantly saying things that were not appropriate for work. Um, and I would just take it because the last girl got fired when she stood up to him.
Mhm.
And I was born Melissa, and they would call me Melly.
Mhm.
And Melly would just play small and not stand up to him and not do anything. And finally, when I finally decided, I called an attorney and I said, "Hey, am I being a big baby or is this legal?" And the attorney said, "It's absolutely not legal. You have a
Mhm.
very strong hostile work environment case. You should file it." I was still too scared, to be honest, because I didn't want to lose my job. It was so fabulous.
Right.
And I finally decided. I had been singing under Raina. I had been writing under Raina. And I said, "You know what? Melissa was playing small and she was too afraid. But Raina stands up for justice, even in the face of loss. And if
Mhm.
I can't stand up for justice in the face of losing a job, how in the world will I stand up for justice in the face of nations or whatever I'm called to in the future that's so much bigger than a job that I knew wasn't going to be forever anyway?" And so I stood up, I said what was going on, and I was the one who lost the job, not him.
Mhm.
Um, and, I teach other people to have a voice, but also know there will be a consequence and you need to be prepared for that. And again, I had several years income saved up, so I was very prepared.
Yeah.
I had a book ready to launch. So I was very prepared by the time I did it. But it was coming into a new era, a new
Mhm.
era where Reina means queen, and stepping into being that queen and helping other people step into their highest self and not play small in any area.
Mhm. Beautiful. Love it. Thank you so much for sharing. That was an awesome story there. So we're running short on time, but definitely you have some awesome stories. You're natural at this. So tell me this: if someone wanted to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to be able to reach out?
Sure. If they're coming off of this show, please contact me on my email, which is reina@rose.com. That's REINA at REINA-ROSE.com. You can also go to my website, which is the same, reina-rose.com. But I'd love to hear an email from you. If you heard about me on this show, just reach out. I'll throw in something nice for you, just because Extus has been such a great host and I've really enjoyed being on this show. You have a great energy, Extus, and it's so nice to come on and just feel that love you have for promoting people, for helping people have better lives. And that's something we share in common.
Awesome. Love it. Love it. Awesome. Well, with that being said, hey, thank you so much for making the time. I know you're pretty busy, but thank you so much for making the time out of your day to be here today. Before we end, and guys, what Raina just shared in terms of contact details, they will be right below this video. So if you're watching right now and you're trying to get in contact, just scroll right down. You'll get the direct link to her. So with that being said, do you have any final thoughts before we end here?
Yeah. Get clarity on what it is that you truly want and decide if it's the direction you're going now. If it's not, take the steps to change.
Love it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much again, Raina, and we'll be in touch, okay?
Thank you so much, Extus. Have a wonderful day.